Hi everyone, Tom here, and I'm joined by John Whitmire, who's just played through Romeo is a Deadman in our review discussion. Now, John, for those of you that missed our previews, can you give us a brief overview of what is Romeo is a Deadman?
Romeo is a Deadman is a game developed by a cult classic game developer, Suda51, and it is a action hack and slash game with some shooting where you are trying to prevent like the end of time space that's having like a zombie outbreak from your ex-girlfriend of all people. And that's kind of like the best I can summarize it. It's a lot to get into. It's a typical Suda51 game. You're kind of just thrusted into the world and kind of learning the chaos is the fun.
So for those that don't know, Suda51 started around the GameCube era, making games, worked on Killer 7, has done the No More Heroes series with Travis Touchdown, and super stylish, way out there games. If you know a Suda51 game, like people recognize this one when the trailer was announced, even before they said Suda51 was involved.
Oh yeah,
super unique style. Yeah, and speaking of time space, this game also is heavily inspired by the Back to the Future duo of Doc and Marty, or more aptly, Rick and Morty. That's what they're kind of going for with this one.
Yeah, and you really feel it because you have your grandpa who's always having your back because he's literally on your back as a stitched-in decal on your jacket, and he's always making commentary. Like, he actually is moving on your back. It's a fun little effect. And he's like a good-hearted Rick. Like, he is always sweet. He's positive outlooking. He tells you sage advice when you need it. And I really like him as a character. He stands out. The main character, Romeo, he's more of just a kind of a good guy, but he does have some like dark things he wants to get through because he's just had a heartbreak. He's going through it. He and them, they bounce off of each other well. You get the straight-laced character and the character who's experienced life, and it says, be a little more venturous.
It's kind of a continuing off like their last game, or one of the recent games, they might have had another one in between, was No More Heroes 3. How do you feel about the combat in this game, and what stands out to you?
So, people who play No More Heroes 3 are going to be pretty familiarized with this game. It feels like it's built off the framework of No More Heroes 3, but with the added inclusion of using projectile weapons, and that's kind of like the whole new element. And it's really well done here because a lot of enemies will have these like flower weak spots that when you do it gives off a lot of damage. So you really want to aim for those, and you can only really hit them with your gun. You can try to hit it with your weapon, but it's like a lot harder. And so you're depending on enemies, it's like it might be more vital for you to just pull out the gun and aim for the sweet spots rather than hack and slash. And some enemies you may want to do a little bit of both. And so you're constantly swapping between the two. And in No More Heroes, whenever you were like getting overwhelmed and you needed to clear the room and like give off a little distance, you were kind of just running away for the moment of running away. But now in this game, when you need to like wait out something, you can always have other strategies, which is like using your gun or using these helpful side zombie characters called bastards that will do a variety of moves. Be it like they'll shoot enemies, they'll give you a healing aura, they'll give you a reflecting damage thing so it can like reflect damage onto the enemy. There's so many different types, and it helps make the combat feel like such a strategy while also kind of being simple and straightforward. Because at the end of the day, you're still just hacking and slashing, but you have these elements that can help you really excel at that.
So it mixes with guns and bastards, which bastards was an hilarious concept when I was listening to the preview. So they are basically like Pokemon zombies, is that right?
When you kill certain enemies, sometimes they'll drop seeds, and you take that back to the base and you plant them, and they grow into full zombies, and you pull them out by the arm, like pull them out. And they'll have different effects, different moves that can help you kind of like be better at achieving your goals. and they can really turn the tide of certain combat situations. I've used them to save my skin multiple times.
How many do you have at once at times?
All right, so when you're actively combating, you can have up to 4. You start off with just like 1, but you can have like a backlog of like so many. I have like over 20, maybe 30. And you can always just swap them out like almost immediately. So if you want to experiment, and I recommend you do, because you'll find ones that you'll be like, oh, this one works really well.
That's a decent-sized bastard dext.
Yes.
John, is there any of the weapons that stood out to you?
Oh, I really love the rocket launcher. If you can, unlock that as soon as you can, because what it's really good at, and this is kind of my playstyle in general, is really capitalizing on weak points. And the rocket launcher, when it hits a weak point, it has a larger hitting range, so it makes hitting those weak points a little easier. And B, it hits hard on those weak points. Like, it does like the most damage out of all of them. And also does a little bit of crowd control. So it's a really handy weapon. You have to reload after every shot though, so you have to be very mindful with it. But it is very good for tough situations, and it's gotten me out of a lot of slippery, and its design is really cool. Really big fan of that. If you nail a rocket launcher in a video game, that's going to give me brownie points. That's gonna make me happy.
The enemies are zombies, right? How did you feel about that in the game compared to like previous Suda51 type enemies?
There's a mixed feeling on it for me. They do allow some like crazy, weird designs, which I really like, but you lose a little bit of that like intimacy of like the world when you don't have like, oh, these are thugs that were on the street, or these are these people's goons. Like it loses a bit of a narrative cohesion, and they just kind of feel like mindless zombies to slaughter. And you know, they play great. They all have unique purposes and functionalities to where it kind of pushes you to play different styles, which I think is good. Sometimes you need to be pushed into an uncomfortable spot to like really learn a specific play style, but it's just like they're always the same in every world. Like even when you're in different chapters which have different domains of people, it's like they're still the same creatures, which is something that games like No More Heroes, which is another Suda51 game, you would go to each area and the thugs would kind of like represent the thugs of that area, so it kind of helped fill out and make the worlds feel more lively. And with the enemies here, it makes everything feel isolating, and I feel like that's done on purpose.
What do you mean by isolating?
Well, the core theme is that your character's going through like a breakup. They're kind of lost, so I feel like this isolating feeling is what the character's kind of going through. Because you're out in this void of space with a small crew, and it's just pitch black on the ship called The Last Night, by the way. So that's kind of like your main hub area. So you're like in this isolated world. You're getting breadcrumbs of this like girlfriend you used to have that you still kind of like want to have feelings for. Like he still fawns over her. And it seems like this conflict of interest, like he wants to salvage something that doesn't seem salvageable. And I find that super fascinating because it bleeds into everything. Like I said, everything feels kind of isolating. When you're in the world, you don't have backup. There aren't like people running away. It's just the zombies. And so it can be now that isn't always the case. I did find it like they mix it up every now and then, and which is a Suda51 thing. He loves mixing it up, and I appreciate that because I think pace breaking is very important to games like this. And it's good, but it just felt a little too lonely at times. Like like there was moments where it's like I wish I could be talking to one of the NPCs, kind of like learning what they're doing while I'm doing this like one task.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hanging out with your bastards wasn't enough for you.
Yeah. No, they're not much conversationalists.
What can we kind of expect for the environments and the variety in the game that we come across? Like, some of them were like a hellscape forest, and going along these two, what are the biggest set pieces, the bosses? How did you feel about that?
Okay, so when it comes to the environment, it's definitely inspired from like horror genres. Like you go through a lot of horror tropes, or a lot of zombie tropes, and which can be good and bad. I feel like a good few of those ones are a bit drab. I think overall it just needs like a bit more pop. Like it just, I think it might just be the lighting. Like something about it just felt a little touch dim. Even like, and I don't mean like brightness settings. I mean just like artistic lighting, like how they lit everything. But with the bosses, when it comes to the movesets, they're all super entertainingly different. Like they're wildly bouncing off, doing different things. Some are harder than the others. Had a really hard time with the second boss, who's a giant head. He has a lot of AoE attacks that you really have to be aware of. So the movesets are great, but the characterizations of this is like a duality, because they're these people that they're supposed to be people, but every time you go up against these guys, they turn into these like monstrous zombies. So you kind of just get that disconnect of like the actual character of these villains, which is one of the strong suits of Suda51's like backlog of games that he's made, is that he usually makes these villains very enticing and very interesting. And they are interesting. It's just that you feel a disconnect when they become these like monstrous forms.
Even if they're personal.
Yeah, and like they aren't like continuing the dialogue as you fight them. Like they aren't saying stuff, which is stuff that they've done in the past, where it's like they'll talk as they combat, as they fight. So just, you don't get that intimacy of like two people with conflicting morals going at it with each other, and that's a bit of a downside. But the fights themselves are fun. There's one towards the end, a spectacle. Like that thing was a spectacle of a fight. Lots of big moves. The design of the monster itself was awesome. So that, like, you still get good boss fights. Like these are still top quality boss fights, just that you just don't quite get that intimacy that like No More Heroes has been known for with their bosses, where you can have like almost an attachment to the character, like the guys you're killing.
Yeah, feel bad.
Yeah. Oh, no, you don't feel bad. Those No More Hero guys are awful characters. Okay. But you still get attached to them. You're like, oh, you little scamp.
Now, when I was seeing the trailer, there's a spaceship. Are there any like kind of odd jobs you can do, or like what are you doing when you're not in the main levels?
Okay. So there's a lot of different like mini game aspects to this game. Some are just like leveling up your points, which you acquire like stuff as you adventure on that can be attributed to your leveling up. And then there's other things like flying around the spaceship to go to these like dungeons. So there's not really like side jobs or side activities. I feel like that would have mixed up the pace and maybe even give room to the side characters to do more, because like you have your mom on your ship that cooks you food. I feel like that could have been a more engaging minigame, which it has a minigame, but it's like super simple. But I would love like if these characters had bigger roles across doing other minigames, because you just don't get a lot of time with these characters that you're spending time with on the ship, and it kind of makes them feel kind of like just talking heads.
Well, coming up to the end of the review here, what would you say was maybe the best parts of the game that you enjoyed, and did it live up to the Suda51 name?
The best part is clearly the love and attention to detail of the combat, which has evolved over the many years of him working through action-based gameplay, and it definitely feels like a evolution of No More Heroes 3 specifically, and it's always a delight to have that combat. It's very rewarding, very grunge, very raw. Like there's no parrying, you have to just kind of brunt your way through it. And the varied sets and emotions and characteristics are still there. I don't think the characteristics are at its strongest, but like I said, I enjoy the combat a lot. In general, with the game, I would say I liked it a lot. Yeah. And, if you're a Suda51 fan, this is an easy pickup, I would say. I think Suda51 fans know it's like the games are always going to have some faults. That's kind of their charm, is that they're never going to quite be that 10 out of 10 game. But, you feel that spry attitude behind the development where it's like, we're just going to do it just because we can. And you love that. Yeah, that's where I'm feeling it. It's a good adventure, good game. Oh, and by the way, performance, super smooth. The frame rate's super smooth. Lots of options on the PC. I played on PC. But from what I saw on some PlayStation 5 gameplay, it's just as smooth. 60 FPS, looks great.
Happy with how the story wound up?
Yeah, generally overall, just happy with it. Could have liked it more, but it told its story it wanted to tell, and that's what I always appreciate out of these games, that it sticks with its guns, and the characters, you develop and you grow and you learn to love them a lot. So I'll probably go back to this game and appreciate things more. It's always good for like a second playthrough, these types of games are, because you kind of like notice the more details when you slow down and kind of like take things in.
All right, well, thank you, John. This has been our review on Romeo is a Deadman. Stay tuned to it. It's out February 11th on PlayStation, and Xbox, and PC. No word on Switch 2 yet. That hopefully we'll hear in the future if they get through a couple technical hurdles they're working on. And I guess for more on future Suda51 games, come right back here to GameXplain. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.